We all know that there's one thing that PlayStation has in the bag, which is their massive AAA games they release every single year, it seems. For the last 3 or 4 years, Sony has created and published some of the best games we've seen in a very long time. And while we all know that the PlayStation 5 event is coming this June, we still don't know what games will be shown and what the show is going to be about. There is this understanding that the PlayStation 5 might be one of the centerpieces to the show, and I've talked extensively about the new console and what I think Sony should do from a marketing standpoint. I've even gone into the specs and how the machine stands up to the competition, which is the Xbox Series X. All that stuff is very important, and it's something that will shape what the next generation looks like for the PlayStation 5. But there's still one critical topic I want to talk about specifically for the PlayStation 5. And that has to be the games that will launch with the PS5 and what games we should expect to come next generation. Which brings me to this article that came out discussing what they think the games coming are going to be. And for me personally, there's a couple of surprises that might get people very excited for the console, but I do have to say this is just a rumor and some of these games might seem like common sense to come out, while others might be a surprise. So let's dive into these games and finally talk about the most important aspect of a console, which is the games. But like always, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so let's dive into these games and give a little background on them so we can see if they're truly going to launch with the PlayStation 5. But first, I do have to make something clear. A launch game for a console isn't a game that launches day and date with the console. I always saw a launch title as something that came out within 6 to 9 months of a console's release. So I'm even talking about games that will be releasing in spring of 2021. Those games are usually the first to launch on the next generation consoles. With that said, let's dive into the first game, which I think is the most notable game and probably the most anticipated game out of all of these listed, which is Horizon Zero Dawn 2. Surprise, surprise, I think this game is on every single gamer's mind, especially since the first game created such a massive following and turned out to be one of the best new IPs this generation. Here's what the article had to say about the game. The original Horizon ended up being far better than even the most ardent PlayStation fans could have hoped for, ending up garnering extremely positive review scores across the board and selling over 10 million units. That alone is enough to guarantee a sequel. But that aside, Horizon itself leaves the door open for, in fact, it outright sets up a sequel. A Horizon 2 releasing in 2021, 4 years after the original, seems to make sense. Yes, Guerrilla technically have to handle a console transition, but they also don't have to create an all-new engine, as well as an all-new IP and a totally new, for them, genre in the process. Given that, and the fact that Horizon as a brand is extremely well liked, it was the game that went toe-to-toe with Zelda. How many games can say that? Expecting Horizon 2 to get at least a substantial teaser at the PS5 reveal event isn't unreasonable. Throw in the substantial rumors and leaks surrounding the game we have seen in recent months, and there's a lot of smoke here for there not to be any fire. This to me is one of the no-brainer games to come to the PlayStation 5, especially with how amazing the first game did. I think a lot of gamers are waiting for the sequel. I mean, can you imagine how great the game will look on the PlayStation 5 with all the new awesome hardware and architecture getting the most out of the engine Guerrilla Games made? I could only imagine what this game would perform like on the PS5 with all this great graphical output. I think this will turn into one of the best, most prolific franchises for PlayStation, and I think Sony isn't afraid to show off a game that's far off. Not to mention, this game will single-handedly get people very excited for the PS5 and will line up multiple gamers to pre-order the PS5 because of this game, which is something the company truly wants gamers to do, which is get them excited for the next generation PlayStation. And what's one great way of doing that? Well, you just show them a graphical showpiece that makes their jaws drop, much like Horizon Zero Dawn did all those years ago when they first revealed that game. Next up is a little bit of a surprise, but something I could see happening considering the game isn't that massive of a game, which is Ratchet Clank. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this game, but I know it has an amazing following, which the article points out here. Like Horizon 2, a new Ratchet Clank game has also been well leaked for a while now, to the extent that it was originally believed to be coming for the PS4, which at this point obviously feels unlikely. To add to that, Ratchet & Clank are smaller scale outings than something like Spider-Man, and Insomniac is extremely efficient and prolific. What I am trying to say is that I expect a Ratchet & Clank game, and I expect it soon. Like launch PS5 games soon, to be honest. Obviously, given that, I also expect it to be shown off at the PS5 reveal event. Now, this is something I believe Sony does extremely well. They do create some of the biggest AAA games for a first-party developer, but they also release some smaller titles in between those massive games. And Ratchet & Clank could fit very nicely in that realm of smaller titles that can come hold people over during the PS5 launch. You throw in that the game has a pretty big following, and you start to think it's a no-brainer. So like this article says, don't be surprised to see a brand new Ratchet & Clank game shown this summer. Next up is a game I've heard rumored for quite some time. I'm talking last year or so. This game has been leaked and talked about by multiple insiders, which is Demon's Souls. Now, this is a game I know a lot of people love. I've talked to multiple friends who have said they will buy a PS5 just because of this game. Do I think the game type is niche? Of course I do, but that didn't stop Bloodborne from launching the PS4 into greater heights, and it's still an exclusive game a lot of people on that platform champion. So this remake can usher in a lot of new and older fans to the platform. Here's what the article has to say on the matter. We know that Bluepoint is working on a brand new game, and that they have called this game extremely ambitious. We know they have teased that it is a Demon's Souls remake previously, teases that have since then been substantiated by Jason Schreier, who has a near flawless track record with inside scoops on games. Given the fact that it is a remake of a cult classic game that is hugely beloved, Demon's Souls, or whatever other remake Bluepoint is working on, but let's be honest with ourselves here, it's probably a game Sony wants out for the PS5 launch. As a remake, it's easier for it to meet deadlines, and as a cult classic entry in a franchise loved by core gamers, it is also the perfect headlining marquee game to get the attention of enthusiasts and get them to upgrade at launch. I expect we will be seeing this game unveiled alongside the PS5. There you have it, folks. A lot of insiders have talked about this game, and I think Bluepoint is the perfect company to work on a game like this. It's not a remaster, and it's not something that will take as much time as a completely new game will. But the perfect thing about the game is that the game is in need of a remake. They could take a lot of the old assets of the game and enhance them and completely redo them for a brand new audience, but also give older PlayStation fans something to look forward to. This could be a massive game for the PlayStation brand and something that grabs a lot of the hardcore gamers' attention. But next up has to be Gran Turismo, which I think is going to come a little later in the generation. The article even says this is a best guess scenario game for them. But to me, it's almost a must for the PlayStation to launch with a Gran Turismo game, especially since Xbox has been eating their lunch in regards to racing games. Everyone knows the best racing games in the world are Forza games, which Xbox has down pat. But that doesn't mean I want Sony to stop trying to make games that are better than Forza or try to make a game better than any racing game out there. No, I want them to compete just like every other company should compete. Here's what the article has to say. This one is more of an educated guess, so not informed by rumors or leaks, but a Polyphony Digital hasn't released a game since Gran Turismo Sport, which will be over 3 years old by the time the PS5 releases. And B, Sony has demoed every single system of theirs except the Vita with a Gran Turismo game upon reveal, even PSVR. We can probably expect to get a good look at Gran Turismo during the PS5 reveal, whether it's a proper Gran Turismo 7, a souped up version of Sport, or just a tech demo is unclear, but betting on Gran Turismo to be there in some form is a pretty safe bet. That's something I know a lot of racing fans hope to see. Do I think the Gran Turismo games have a long way to go in regards to competing with Forza? Yes, I do. But that doesn't mean they aren't great games. For me personally, I'm not the biggest racing fan. I truly only love Forza Horizon games, and I tend to play them a lot when they first release. But that's the extent of where my racing fandom goes. But I know there's a lot of great racing fans out there that love to play those games and have a blast doing so. Let's hope that Sony provides their fans something to look forward to in regards to racing games, because they do have to compete with that. I mean, Xbox and Forza have absolutely dominated the racing genre when it comes to gaming. Now, that's the only first-party games or first-party IPs that's being rumored to come to the PlayStation 5 console in that launch window I mentioned earlier. Of course, there's going to be some third-party and second-party developers that make games for them. Games like Godfall is coming at launch and has had a small trailer showing the game. And when you take that game and take all these rumored games, you can see that PlayStation 5 launch lineup is looking pretty stacked. All of these amazing AAA games can really set Sony up great for the PS5's early adoption rate. Let's hope Xbox responds with just as many games or even more AAA games. Either way, I can't wait to get my hands on both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and see what games they provide us to play. But enough of what I think about all this. Tell me what you think about all of this. Do you like the AAA games rumored to come out for the PS5? Which one of these games gets you most excited? Do you think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 will launch with the PS5? Which games do you think is a little further out from this list? Will Sony actually have this many games ready for the launch of the PS5? Do any of these games compare to Halo Infinite and all the other amazing Xbox Series X launch titles? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamer tag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves lately. I'm talking about the last weekend. I really put in over probably 15 hours into that game. I love all the new content, and I just got pulled back into the game. I couldn't stop playing. I really do love that game. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.